Hey, this is John Corse, and you're with my very good friend Reelax on Release Radio.
The number you have reached has been disconnected. The new number is...
The phone booth.
Oh, here we go. It's Friday night in the phone booth, and it's a great pleasure to welcome back one of our favourite repeat offenders, Mr. John Corse, into the phone booth. How are you?
Repeat offenders?
Yeah, mate. You have to be, wouldn't you? You have to be up there.
I think I'd qualify by now as, I've spent a fair amount of hours in nightclubs and behind DJ consoles to qualify as repeat offender, I think.
Absolutely. Also, speaking on this, Reed, recently, you've been now seen as an icon of Australian dance music. How do you feel about being called an icon these days, mate?
Really? Well, I guess it depends on who calls me it, but... Oh, look, it's always great to have people acknowledge that you've been involved in, something for a long time. I guess the most, the proudest thing that I'm happy about with the Australian dance music scene really is that the stuff that Vicious has done, because Vicious is a company that's, supported a lot of Australian acts over a very long period of time, and we've always pushed Australian music really hard within the club scene when it wasn't necessarily very cool to do so, and we followed a passion that we had, and, that's reflected in, I think, the music that we've put out over it's been 20 years nearly that we've been running.
Wow.
So, I guess when you're a very young guy and you're into music and you start something like that and 20 years later it's still going, it's a pretty positive thing. So I'm glad that people respect it. It's just about, always, I guess, trying to push things that you love and you believe in, and it's always easy to do that.
I guess it's an interesting perspective you have now, as you said, like back then starting electronic music, or as EDM as it's so greatly referred to these days, wasn't really as massive internationally, even locally, and now to see it take on this massive wave that it has around the world. How are you seeing that, and how are you feeling about now travelling around? I know you've just returned from Greece, Thailand, you're now back to Australia to us, so you've got an eye on all parts of the world, and seeing this massive explosion happen around the world at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think in Europe, the gigs that I've done in places like Mykonos, which I do every year, I mean, they were just as good 5 years ago as they are now. So I don't think that kind of scene's changed. I mean, obviously the big festivals have grown and things like, I went to Tomorrowland this year, and I went to Electric Daisy Carnival in America. Now, in America, it's a different story. 5 years ago, people were listening to complete straight up, you go into a club in Vegas, you couldn't find a house music club if you tried, except for a couple of after hours places. Now, I was talking to somebody there, and in the last 4 years, 22 clubs have opened on the Vegas Strip.
Wow.
And of those 22 clubs, probably 15 of them are playing house music, and 10 of them are getting the biggest DJs in the world, because they've got huge venues, big door charges. The whole nightclub scene makes a lot more money in America because there's a lot more money in the country. So, the explosion there has been a radical change. But I think in Australia, One Love was a very big club 6 or 7 years ago, 8 years ago. And that was a club that happened in Adelaide, happened in Melbourne, happened in Sydney, happened in Brisbane. So I don't think that's really changed that much. I think there's still some great clubs in Australia that play great music. I think there's still some terrible clubs that play terrible music. That hasn't really changed, I don't think, too much. But obviously the festivals have grown hugely, and when you have something where you have the biggest acts in the world all on one bill, then obviously, it feels like, I guess, oh, wow, we've never had a lineup like that before. But the actual vibe, once you're there, I don't think the atmosphere when I go and see, as an example, Avicii last year at Stereosonic, when he played Levels, the vibe was amazing. But I don't think it was any better than, 10 years ago when I played, the biggest song of the year at Summer Days in Melbourne to 30,000 people.
Yeah.
The reaction, it's not like the reaction now is different than then. The reaction then was absolutely amazing as well. So, I think it's more America where it's changed, and obviously a global, I guess, acknowledgement that, what used to be a little, I guess, shoot off of music called dance is now, a genre that is well and truly established in its own right.
Absolutely. I mean, it's interesting to see, as you said, how it takes over the European side is unaffected. It's staying, it's always leading the course, as does seem to be Australia as well. As you said, it's had a firm basis of club music going on for a while, which leads us to, while we're chatting, mate, you're about to embark on an Australian tour. You've just mixed a new CD for One Love. It's a return to home for you. I believe you did mix way back in the day the very first One Love mix compilation CDs when you're talking about that series and that nightclub starting off.
Yeah, look, that was about 9 years ago. I mean, the club started in Melbourne. For those that don't know, I was the resident the day that it opened, and I played the last record the day that it closed. And I was there the whole period. I've had a really close association over my whole DJ career with Peter Raff, who's one of the promoters that is behind One Love. And, you know, it was great. Since that time, I've done a lot of mixes for Vicious, obviously my own label, and a lot of mixes for Ministry. But it was great to be able to do another mix for One Love. The timing was right, and those guys were into it, and I was into it. And, you know, I guess the thing that's a little bit different is that One Love has got, you know, really great club, strong Australian club roots. So, you know, me doing a disc for them, I guess, kind of fits really well because I've been part of what they did for so long. So,
yeah,
you know, great to do it, and great to be able to put, as well as the obvious big room tunes on there, great to be able to have some kind of really cool underground things that I think can give some people a bit of a taste of what's going on in the underground, because I feel the scene at the moment, it's very big and quite commercial in a way. A lot of music that you hear in clubs gets played on the radio. But at the same time, the underground has got some really great stuff going on. There's a lot of amazing underground music around, and a lot of people don't hear it. So I've managed to squeeze a few things on that I think, you know, a little bit of taste as to what is out there, and that, you know, music doesn't have to be only what you hear on the radio.
Absolutely. Great stuff. We're talking in the phone booth to one of the Australian icons and legends of dance music, Mr. John Course, in release right now. As we said, it was about to embark on a national tour with this CD release. Check your gig guides or give us a call to find out exactly where and when. As you said, also, you've just come back from the warmth, Greece, Thailand, which would have been great. I believe now you've got on the books, or have you just done the snow as well? So it's from one extreme to the other, mate.
Yeah, well, I come from 40 degrees in Mykonos to 30 degrees in Thailand for 9 days, and did about 4 gigs in Koh Samui. And back to Melbourne, which is a bit chilly, but this Thursday, I kick off and I do Mount Hotham, which is the Melbourne Victoria snowfield. So I'll get the snowboard out, go for a bit of a ride, but it will be a bit of an extreme, from 40 to about -5.
You're a professional, mate. You know how to do it well.
Well, with a bit of partying in between, you know, life's not too bad. I can't complain. But look, the tour's going all over the country. I'm going to Villa in Perth and Soho in Sydney on the weekend, Lala Byron, King Street Hotel in Newcastle, back to the Prince in Melbourne, which is where One Love started for a club night called Homecoming. Darwin Discovery's back open again up there, so I'll be doing that. And also Family in Brisbane and Fusion in Melbourne as well. So lots coming up. Hopefully I'll see some of the people listening to this around the country, and we'll rock it out.
Absolutely, mate. Now, before we go, I do hear on the horizon there is production perhaps on the way for Mr. John Course too, the return in 2012. Can you let us know about that?
Well, look, you know, I am in the studio working on some bits and pieces, but I've never been a prolific producer. I've really been more involved in the DJ, you know, CD mixing. I've got a podcast show that I do for Vicious now, which is called the Vicious Sound System, that goes up every month on iTunes for free, so anybody can check that. But yeah, a little bit of studio work. Hopefully that turns into something that I dig, but we'll see, you know.
Exciting stuff. As it isn't often, but it is always great when we do get to something from the man John Course. Mate, we appreciate you coming into the phone booth, having a chat. You're always welcome. Always welcome back, you repeat offender, you. But before we go, can we ask you to play something on the show for us?
Yeah, look, I'm going to play the probably my favourite track off the CD. It's a little bit underground. It's by a group called the Lovebirds featuring Novica. It's the George remix of a tune called This Time. I think this record is an absolutely amazing record, and if I was in a club at 5 a.m, this is what I want to hear. So enjoy, people, a little bit of taste of the One Love CD.
Mixed by the man, Mr. John Course, as picked by him.
For more, head to djrelax.com.